Mr. Busher was pleased with himself. Then he announced loudly,
All right, this term's selection of the Dragon Envoy of Carlton has officially come to an end. A total of 1 Dragon Envoy of Newland, 950 Dragon Envoy of Carlton, and 1,842 Carlton Guards have been selected. Come with me. The Dragon Envoy of Carlton, the Carlton Guards follow Master Carter.
As soon as Mr. Busher's voice fell, a middle-aged man came out from the side. He was also in the Marshal King level, but his aura was not as strong as that of Mr. Busher.
All the Carlton Guards follow me. I'll take you to where you should go.
Master Carter hovered in midair. Very quickly, more than 1,800 of the Carlton Guards flew into the air, following the trail of Master Carter's flight to Blood Lotus Island. Mr. Busher stopped in the air and said to the leading elders,
Elders of the Tranquil Sea region, you may return. The Dragon Envoy of Carlton, I will take you to the side palace of the Carlton Dragon Palace.
Upon hearing this, Leo King's eyes lit up as he quickly expressed his thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Busher.
Many people around him cast envious, jealous, and resentful looks at him.
Dragon Envoy of Carlton, follow me. I will take you to the branch palace of the Carlton Dragon Palace in the Tranquil Sea region.
One figure after another flew up and followed behind Mr. Busher. The incapacitated Dante Kane was supported by Ethan Haddon. Paulson Colt had even been knocked out cold by Zane Martel's Ghost King Cannon. His Guna spirit-eating insect had been sacrificed in the fight. At this moment, he was supported by a Dragon Envoy of Carlton from Dino Valley. He followed behind Mr. Busher and began to move forward.
Zane Martel.
Zane Martel stopped and waited for him. As soon as Victor Quinn came up, he gave a thumbs up and kept flattering Zane Martel with his copper bell-sized eyes.
Zane Martel, you have really exceeded my imagination. You have actually become the Dragon Envoy of Newland.
What? Am I so unfit in your heart?
Victor Quinn quickly shook his head in denial and continued to butter Zane Martel up.
No, I've always thought that you're the strongest, but lo and behold, it came true this time. By the way, don't you have a lot of rewards now that you've become the Dragon Envoy of Newland?
Not too shabby, I guess.
Almost every person who became a Dragon Envoy of Carlton would receive a reward from the Carlton Dragon Palace. Their rewards would be even more plentiful if they became the geniuses of the Four Sides Dragon Envoy. Victor Quinn's eyes lit up as if he had sniffed a business opportunity. He silently took out a divine feminine energy soul pearl from his storage ring and placed it in front of Zane Martel.
Zane Martel, didn't you say earlier that you want to exchange the divine feminine energy soul pearl with me? Right about time. I will discuss the price with you after the reward is bestowed on you.
Zane Martel didn't have to think to know that he definitely wanted to make a fortune off of him. He chuckled and did not take it to heart. People like Victor Quinn, whose life mission was to pursue money and fame, were genuine and unfiltered, giving Zane Martel a very secure feeling. Making friends with such people would make Zane Martel feel more comfortable than making friends with some hypocrites. As for Zane Martel, he had obtained quite a lot of elemental crystals by killing his enemies in the strange little world. Therefore, he was now a rich man. Someone in the crowd soon recognized that they were heading in a different direction from the former Carlton Guards, so they immediately asked,
Mr. Busher, didn't Master Carter and the others head in that direction just now? Why are we taking this direction?
Mr. Busher answered as he flew slowly.
Hey, you don't know, do you? The Carlton Guards don't have the right to enter the branch palace of the Carlton Dragon Palace in the Tranquil Sea region. The main task of the Carlton Guards is to protect Blood Lotus Island, the Tranquil Sea region, and the Carlton Dragon Palace. Cultivating came after that. Therefore, their accommodation is on the Blood Lotus Island you're currently walking on. But the Dragon Envoy of Carlton is different. You have passed through stages of selection. Whether it's profit or talent, you can be counted on one hand. Of course, you are qualified to go to the real branch palace of the Tranquil Sea region.
A real branch palace of the Tranquil Sea region?
Many people were full of curiosity and expectation. After a while, Mr. Busher led them to the first island through the channel of Blood Lotus Island's main island and the secondary island. Everyone found that although there were no people on the first secondary island, it was indeed the most heavily guarded. In front of them, there was a boundary marker that was incomparably large, more than 1,000 meters tall, approaching the clouds. They were floating under the stone and could not see its back at all.
Here we are. This is the entrance to the side palace of the Carlton Dragon Palace.
Here? There's nothing here. There's only one boundary marker, isn't there?
Yeah, there's nothing at all.
Many people were confused. There were also no words on the boundary marker, but a few very ordinary lotus patterns.
You can't see it clearly now, but you'll know soon enough. Take this seed and plant it into your bodies. You will naturally know what's going on.
Mr. Busher waved his hand and yellow seeds the size of a dragon's eye flew out of his storage ring. The seeds accurately flew into everyone's hands. Zane Martell pinched the seed at this moment and frowned. This type of seed wasn't a true seed. It was more like it had been formed from some type of vital energy and formation, something created through some type of method. The others quickly saw the source of the yellow seed, so they did not show much shock. Soon, there were people who injected vital energy into the seeds. Zane Martell did the same. At that moment, the seed the size of a dragon's eye had just begun to come into contact with his vital energy before it immediately stretched out. It turned into a wisp of light yellow aura, like a light smoke. The aura, like a plant, followed their 8 extraordinary meridians and quickly circled around their bodies. In the end, they completely integrated into their bodies.
It's strange. There's no change at all.
But the next moment, a scream came.
Look at the boundary marker.
What? Isn't it just an ordinary stone? Is there a need to make such a big fuss? Holy Mother of God, what exactly happened here?
The crowd looked in the direction of the voice, and all of them were stunned. A yellow vortex appeared in the center of the formerly unremarkable boundary marker. A strong power of space came from the center of the vortex. Obviously, this was the passageway to the real branch of the Carlton Dragon Palace.
What's going on? There was nothing just now.
Exactly. I've been staring at this stone this entire time. I swear I've never let it out of my sight. But this vortex appeared as soon as I blinked my eyes.
This isn't your average vortex. Compared to a second ago, the boundary stone is giving off a completely different feeling now.
The Dragon Envoy of Carlton were all shocked. Watching this scene, Mr. Busher nodded with satisfaction. Watching the astonishment writ large upon the faces of the group of wet-behind-the-ears fellows who had never seen the world had always been one of his kinks. He gave a peal of hearty laughter.
Well, it seems that all of you have seen the changes in the boundary marker. Since that's the case, I'll simply explain it to all of you. The seed I gave you just now is not a real seed, but a token refined by the Carlton Dragon Palace.
A token?
This is a token? This is the first time I've seen such a token. It's amazing.
The crowd exclaimed and patted and searched for the so-called token on their bodies, but they did not find anything. Mr. Busher continued.
You don't have to look for it. You can't find it. I only said token. I never said it's a real, tangible token. That seed contains the aura and formation of a branch palace of the Tranquil Sea region's Carlton Dragon Palace. They can ensure that you are identified by this boundary marker. Only those who have the aura of the Tranquil Sea region can see the passage and changes of the boundary marker. Those outsiders, and even the Carlton guards, don't have the qualifications to possess them, not to mention setting their foot in the branch palace.
Everyone nodded.
How amazing. This is nothing if not amazing.
In other words, the yellow seed was actually the key to the branch of the Carlton Dragon Palace. Once the key was planted into their bodies, there was no need to be afraid of other forces getting it and sneaking into the Carlton Dragon Palace. In addition, during the outside mission in the battle, people from the Carlton Dragon Palace could sense each other. They could instantly recognize each other's identity, even if they did not communicate with each other. This was the tactic to subdue the top forces of the Mystic Territory.
Well, young'uns, it's time to keep your amazement away. Follow me and come in.
Mr. Busher plunged into the vortex, followed by the others. The vortex passageway seemed to be some kind of transmission formation that led to a certain place. Different from other transmission formations, this space formation was very stable and did not give rise to the feeling of dizziness at all. Soon, they walked out of the transmission formation. The scene that greeted them stunned most people. In front of them was an endless mountain range whose outline was like a giant dragon lying on the ground, emitting a powerful spirit. On the top of the mountain were towering ancient trees. Even though they were more than 10 kilometers away, they could still feel the rich wood nature element coming from the woods. Nestled in the middle of the woods were neatly arranged skyscrapers. More precisely, several 100-meter-tall black towers, all of which were shrouded in a thick air of mystery. The surface of the tower was covered in lava, as it was tied up by huge chains. There were also countless magnificent palaces like the Great Hall of the Golden Loki, standing proudly in the mountains. The deafening roars of beasts came from the mountains. From time to time, a few figures of martial artists would fly past in the sky, some of whom stopped to look at newcomers. They could see their younger selves in the newcomers and are reminded of when they had first joined the Carlton Dragon Palace. What snagged Zane Martel's unduly attention was a towering tree on a pure white snow mountain in the distance.
This big tree seemed to be connected to the sky and the earth, supporting the sky. Why, you're indeed worthy of being named the Dragon Envoy of Newland this time around. It didn't take long for you to have noticed that divine tree.
Divine tree? Might that be the trademark of the Carlton Dragon Palace?
Zane Martel's eyes lit up. The trademark of the Carlton Dragon Palace was a big tree with a real dragon coiled on it. If the divine tree in front of him was really the emblem of the Carlton Dragon Palace, then this tree would be extraordinary.
Well, you'll know in the future, won't you?
Mr. Busher didn't explain much and led them all the way. As he moved forward, he introduced the situation of the Branch Palace of the Tranquil Sea region.
This is the Carlton Dragon Palace, the real location of the Branch Palace of the Tranquil Sea region. It's a microcosm created by an expert. While this microcosm is much smaller than the real macro world and is populated only by tens of millions of people.
They gasped. Having entered the strange little world before, they knew that there was not much difference between a small world and a great world. But the person who had founded a small world was undeniably an expert among the strong. It would have been impossible if he wasn't at least in the Martial King level. Mr. Busher led the group and stopped in front of a resplendent palace. He asked the disciples inside to assist the new members of the Carlton Dragon Palace to complete the procedures. That done, he led them to a giant mountain. On the giant mountain peak, clouds and mist were swirling and green. Spiritual birds could occasionally be heard flying and auspicious beasts roaring. On the mountain, well-built courtyards were legions, each of which was very vast and boasted everything one could expect to find. The amount of vital energy here was several times that of Blood Lotus Island.
This shall be your residence. The seeds I gave you before are distributed according to your ranking in the Dragon Envoy of Carlton selection. The higher the rank, the closer your lodging is to the mountain peak. The lower the rank, the closer it is to the foot of the mountain. You're free to claim your own courtyard now.
Yes, sir.
They bowed to Mr. Busher and began to look for their own courtyard, as excited as a child. After a while, Victor Quinn found his courtyard and came to look for Zane Martel.
Zane Martel, if you're the Dragon Envoy of Newland this time around, then your courtyard should be at the top.
You're probably not wrong. I've discovered that the closer the lodging is to the mountain, the stronger the vital energy will be.
Why don't you come with me to have a look?
Why not?
Soon they reached the top of the mountain. However, the environment here shocked them. The summit of the mountain was only several hundred meters wide, and despite being rich in vital energy, its level wasn't enough to wow them. More importantly, there was no courtyard here.
What the devil? Where's my courtyard? Am I supposed to sleep on the ground?
Looks like you're going to stay with me.
Victor Quinn teased.
The courtyard of the Four Sides Dragon Envoy must be extraordinary. How could it be the same as the courtyard down here?
The voice of Mr. Busher came from behind, full of mirth.